Welcome to the Mavens Do It Better podcast. And now, your host, Heather Newman.
Hello, listeners. Today we have on the fabulous Kirsty McGrath, and she is the founder of OnPoint Solutions, and she has her consulting business in Australia, and they focus on cloud technology and rethinking approaches to business innovation and collaboration and communication and productivity and all that good stuff. Kirsty is she is so bubbly and bright and wonderful. She's a 3-time Microsoft MVP. She brings so much to the table, having founded user groups and running user groups for the local areas that she lives in. And we talk about her tech background and working in tech and how to keep work-life balance and all of that good stuff. And I could talk to her for days. So she's a delight to speak with, and just, again, such a joyful, positive person. So I hope you enjoy our conversation. Cheers, everybody. Hey, everybody. Here we are again for another Mavens Do It Better podcast, where we interview extraordinary experts who bring a light to our world. And here we have a beautiful light, Kirsty McGrath. Hello, coming to you from down under. Yay.
I am. Sydney down under. Beautiful sunny day today.
That's so
it's
great.
Not a day to be sort of sitting inside, but we'll get there.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I've got a beautiful sunny day here in LA, and I know we're in the middle of winter for us up here, and you're in summer, so we've got a lot of people who are like, but but that's okay.
That's it.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
Bring the sun on.
Yes, absolutely. Oh my goodness. Well, it's so great to see you and chat with you. And it's so nice. I love seeing your MVP behind us here.
Yes,
I know.
I 3 of them now. We're hopefully kicking into the 4th very soon.
Oh, that's so awesome. 3 years. So all in the office area. Yeah.
Yeah, that's it. Office is the main space. I sit sort of in adoption side of things, the end user side of things. I'm not on the tech dev side. What a lot of MVPs are globally, of course, sit more in the tech dev side. So being in the change side was a bit of a new space for Microsoft a couple of years ago as a focus.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, that was the end user adoption for me, was what I ran around the world on too. So definitely. So like you, myself, I think of Daryl Webster. I feel, there's like Erica, there's like a bunch of folks that's
it. And some with sort of specialty in certain areas. Yeah. And, we've got 1 or 2 now that are sort of building across the change space and across ANZ, which is good to see, because there's sort of not many of us really globally.
Right. No, that's super cool. So and you own your beautiful own business as well.
I do. OnPoint Solutions.
Yeah.
Yes.
OnPoint Solutions. And 11 years old?
Yeah, right? It's been a while. Originally, it started as a PowerPoint company, OnPoint. So there you go. Back in the day when I was working with Microsoft, I kicked off a PowerPoint company, and I was doing sort of PowerPoint sort of on the side and helping people out inside Microsoft. And it kind of went from there. And I haven't ever changed the name. It just worked.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I met a bunch of PowerPoint MVPs, and they're some of the fiercest people I've ever met. They love PowerPoint so much. Yeah. A couple of MVP summits ago. That was hilarious. Yeah, super cool. Wow. So was it building decks for people or teaching them how to use it? It was, because you're a trainer, right? As well. So, yeah.
It was a bit of both, because I used to be an executive assistant. So I was a PA for 14 years. I was a temp. So for me, using tech, I had to be extremely flexible and adaptable, because I walked in and out of organizations
right
all up the coast, sort of Australia, with the work that I did. So I wasn't afraid of technology, and I kind of had become that sort of change champ. And I was building PowerPoint presentations for senior leaders all the time. So it became a real skill set. And then people would always come and ask me, and then it kind of went from there. It just got snowballed bigger and bigger.
I was like, my mute button was on for a second. I was like, wait a minute. That's super cool. Yeah, I love, it's funny that it's still Microsoft is like land of PowerPoint, just to.
Well, I think so many organizations are. There's still so much sort of death by PowerPoint out there.
Yeah.
And it was the very first topic I ever taught publicly as well.
Oh, wow.
It was a dreadful day. I was so bad at it. I was just like, a book. I don't know what I'm doing here. And you told me years ago that I would be on a stage speaking in front of, hundreds of people, I would have laughed you out of town. It can be such a learned skill, the journey. And as I've got older and a bit more confident too.
Yeah, absolutely. So speaking of like, getting comfortable in learning, speaking and all that kind of stuff, because you are, a beautiful speaker, give trainings, all that kind of stuff. So let's go. Would you wind it back to where, you're welcome. Absolutely. Wind it back to like where, so I know you're from Australia. Yes. Originally. Yeah. So where are you from in Australia? Tell everybody kind of that story.
See, I'm a Queensland girl, North Queensland. Where you're right.
Okay, got it.
That's a bit of a saying up there in North Queensland. So sunny North Queensland, country girl. Moved. I've sort of been up and down the east coast of Australia. Okay. I was born in a small country town. I moved to Townsville. Spent most of my life in Townsville. Awesome. I met my husband there. We moved to Melbourne. Then after a couple of years, moved to Sydney, and I've been in Sydney now about 16 years. I think it was here that I, had divorced him and became single mum of small children, and that kind of journey. So. That's sort of some of my origins of moving up and down the coast and sort of getting to know a bit of Australia. But I actually used to be in tourism, so I got to know the coast really well because I had to drive it literally all of Queensland, 4 weeks out of 6 on the road, meeting people and talking and being in sales and literally cold calling, door knocking in tourism. So, it kind of helped, I suppose, with some of my confidence, because there's nothing like getting a shutdown or heckled or... it's just like I learned to not take it personally because I knew it wasn't about me. It was about the fact that I just knocked on their door. No, absolutely. Yeah, that does get it to you. I worked in retail when growing up. And so, it was like, I figured out that I could get commission, from selling ladies' dresses. And so like you learn pretty quickly of being like, hi, how are you? Would you like blah, blah, blah? Oh, you look beautiful in pink. I know. The journey that you often have in career is never really straight in that whole, you do jump several different kind of careers to land maybe on what you're passionate about. I was in real estate. I was, as I said, temp PAO for 14 years because, I had small children. So for me, it was just work that I could get around my kids. And I just decided to become a temp. And I was really, really good at it and pretty much employed full time. But I got to the point with doing that. And when I was at Microsoft, I was actually a temp PA to sort of start with. Okay. And moved over into the marketing team. So I was actually in the entertainment device division, which was all things retail back then. So it was kind of a bit of naming misnomer. It was sort of like Xbox and keyboard and Windows and all sorts of stuff. And so I became a marketing exec and then became program manager, project manager before I kind of had left there because I was on contract and you couldn't stay very long at Microsoft back when it was a contract. So did the move out into industry. And that's when I kind of went, what am I going to do? Yeah. Wow. There was a trainer at Microsoft, Jeanette, and wonderful, helped me to get into kind of the industry. And she'd been the trainer inside at Microsoft, and I'd had a bit of interest in that space. But I didn't want to travel all over Sydney. I'm going, it's all just too hard. Right. Next minute, I'm in a career, literally now traveling all over Australia instead. But my kids are all grown, so it gives me that bit of flexibility and freedom because, I've got a daughter. She's 25. I'm a grandmother. I call myself a grandma.
I was going to say, like what? Yes, absolutely.
Grandma. He's 3, and I've got identical twin boys, and they've just turned 22. So, it's given me a bit more freedom in business now that they're that bit older. But it was tough when they were younger. It's not easy to work and business and single mum and do it, on your own. And, it's only you that you can rely on ultimately. And I was the only income earner. So, you either, for me, it was like living a life of no excuses kind of thing because you've got to do. It was always tomorrow is a new day because, you know what, we have sometimes some really crappy days. And I think that what I had learned was sometimes we can have bad things happen in a day and even a couple of things bad in a week, but it doesn't make it a bad week because there was an awful lot of really cool stuff that went with it.
Yeah.
So trying to be really positive, when you've got so much going on, makes such a difference. So, and then taking that into business, look, it's not easy doing your own business.
Yeah.
It comes with its.
I'm like, yep.
Yeah, that's it. Being in the service side of things, it's kind of bang or bust. You've either have never got enough people, or you don't have, or you've got too many. There's not enough work, or there's too much work, or it's this sort of bang or bust cycle in that space of consultancy that can be a real killer sometimes, especially in days of now with pandemic.
Yeah, I mean, you and I were talking about this before we got on the podcast. We were doing a little catch up, and I mean, it's like talking to people. I took a big podcast hiatus. I usually do that anyways. This is third season, right? And so I usually kind of at the end of November over the holidays. But I had a bunch. It was odd because I did a bunch before everything, and then sort of like I did a bunch after, and I haven't done. I haven't recorded anything since November, right? And like kind of through that, still a lot has changed, and we're back at kind of the beginning, a year of like when everything started. And I mean, I too, like all of the travel, all the workshops, all the training, all the stuff I was doing just went. And we were talking about that and how you've like gone through that it's this
it is one. It's cyclical anyway. When we see maturity of products in industry, it often will up and down and you sort of go with the flow. But change and training is usually the very first thing to go when times are tough.
Right.
And you're running workshops or your face-to-face training or those sorts of things. An organization that was rolling out Microsoft Teams of where you're on really big projects, instead of taking 3-6 months, a year, or even 2 years to roll out something with a ton of change and training, they had to roll it out overnight because staff had to be there on it immediately. So then it was kind of online workshopping or training, but it would be with a lot of people, and then it would just be sort of recordings to try and get everyone else over the line. So then there was a bit there, but it certainly made a real change, across this space without a doubt. Training is usually always historically, and you look at all the research and the white papers, it's the first to get struck off a budget when times go lean. And if people are getting laid off, then they're not going to be putting money into training when they're desperately trying to keep staff.
Right. Yeah. No, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, it's one of those things that has gone and did go, and it's changed a bit, I think. Well, I mean, you were rolling out Teams a lot though too. Yeah. Yeah.
I had a ton of programs rolling out Teams. But I mean, I suppose we saw the cycle of rolling out 365 for quite a few years, and there was still some of that going on. And they've also gone to that really hard and fast as well, because they've needed to try and take documentation online instead of on servers and VPN and all sorts of things. So, we're seeing a bit of a shift. I think it'll come back around again they've done it, but they're going to go, oh my God, now it's a mess. People are just chatting and they're doing it for meetings, but no idea how to actually use this tech. So we're starting to see this year those calls starting to come in going, we kind of roll it out, but we don't know what we're doing.
Right. Yeah. Or they rolled it out and kind of let it go. It's kind of like the old SharePoint days when it was like everybody like just they could make a team site, right?
Yes.
And like everybody had them, and then everybody was like, oh.
And then it's just a mess, and they don't know how to.
Governance. How about some metadata? How about some even just channels dealing with that? Yeah. I found that too. Wow.
Yeah, so that'll all come back around. That realization is starting to kick in. I'm starting to get some of those calls and emails and quotes coming in this year. And so, it will change. But I mean, I've been also very focused on sort of my MVP community help over the last year, really, because, I sit in the Facebook for Education kind of, because teachers, they've been so stressed out all over the globe. And when you're under that much pressure, it's very hard to learn. So it's just easier to ask a question. So kind of answer the same question just again and again with a screenshot.
Sure. Yeah. Back and forth.
That's it. So on forums and helping a lot of friends and colleagues in industry and just getting on calls because they're going, I just don't know how to do this, and I've got a deadline and I'm freaking out. And so there's a lot of free work, but I suppose that's just the nature of the beast. I've always been a helper.
Mm-hmm.
So whatever, I'm not going to be charging. And even funny, I do cake decorating as a hobby, because when I want to shut my head down from all the forums and things like that, I get in and I'll make cakes. And if you ever have a look on Instagram, it's actually called MVP_decorating.
Yes, I've seen it. And I was going to ask you about it, because it's like, I was like, you can decorate a cake. Okay. I mean,
yeah, I know. I tell you what, you should have seen the disaster that was my cake yesterday that I had to fix in a very short period of time, posting some stuff. But I do that because I'm always so head down in technical stuff,
right,
and reading and forum, and I just needed something to pull me out that I had fun. It's my hobby. I also do jigsaw puzzles, because that's all about the mindfulness and the meditative side as well. And cake decorating can be very much the meditative side, depending on what you're doing, because you're sitting there and kind of doing minute detail, or building a flower that takes 2 hours and it's hundreds of tiny little petals,
absolutely.
So I do tend to do that, so that I've got an outlet that's not just work. Because sometimes I'll be doing 100-hour weeks, and you need something to go, I need to stop. So, and people will ask me, I don't do it for profit. I just make it for friends. It's just for equipment. I don't sell, I don't have commercial kitchens and all that. It's expensive. So, but it's kind of my fun thing and I give a lot of the cakes away. I give a lot of them to hospitals. My grandson had gone through chemotherapy, very sick with tumors and stuff. So I would be taking a lot of cakes up to the oncology ward, to all the nurses that at 2 and 3 in the morning, they enjoy the cakes, a bit of energy. So, I always tend to give a lot of them away, just do it for fun.
You have such a shiny, bright, positive spirit.
I work hard at it.
Yeah.
I think you have to. I'm lucky that I'm phenomenally resilient. I've gone through some really intense challenges in my world, and I've had to learn to be very resilient and draw on the people that are positive.
Yeah.
And try and not bring the negative into my world. That's not saying there's not negative, because that's part of life. Life gets in the way of life, is what I say.
Yeah.
It really does.
Sure.
As quick as you're on a journey to something will just go boof, blow it up. I was supposed to go to the MVP summit when it was on 2 years ago. Right. And the day I was flying out was the day of my grandson's tumor operation. Can it? I needed to be there for family. Family was first.
Yeah.
So, I'm a firm believer in my family is very much everything for me. And I may have a business and a successful business, but that's not what's going to be there crying over my grave when I've actually, and supporting my family and my children.
Yeah.
So,
right.
I try and focus on the things that really matter.
Yeah.
Without a doubt. Yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah. So the cake, I love the cake decorating. I think it's interesting that people have found, were you doing that before the pandemic?
Yes, I was. I actually started when I was fairly young. My dad was in Rotary, and I suppose I get a lot of what I do from that. He was president for many years and has Paul Harris Fellowship and all sorts of stuff. And tragically, he's got an acquired brain injury now. But these sorts of things kind of shaped my world in terms of some of the giving. He was, very giving, very social. And I did a course that was fundraising and the money that we gave, and I learned some cake decorating, but I really got stuck into it about 7 years ago.
Okay.
But hardcore.
Yeah.
Hardcore, really, the last 3 years I've got really hard. I did 20 cakes, I think it was last year, and something like that. Yeah.
That's super fun. Good for you. That's so cool. And I love it. You give them away. That's really neat. Yeah. My mom had a phase of cake decorating, but it didn't stick. It was just for a bit. But I remember a really beautiful ladybug cake that I always really loved. So yeah,
Yeah.
those things.
Yeah, I
things
spend
you
a lot.
remember.
I spend a lot of money on that hobby. I love coming over to the US because it gives me lots of tools and
sure.
But I apply a lot of that same my business world. I kind of apply also to my caking world, and my caking world to my business world of staying calm. I mean, if you saw the cake yesterday, I had decorated, I got it already, I'd done a sugar sheet wrap, and I'd done hours and hours and hours. And I came out yesterday and the whole thing was melted to the table. And I just looked at it at 6:30 yesterday morning going, oh, wow, how do I turn that around? And you know what I did? I went into the forum online and went, okay, advice, support, what do we do? And then just methodically worked my way back through it to make, a cake that, ended up being, quite stunning. So, when you might even see a picture. There you go.
Oh, wow.
So gives you a bit of an idea.
Yeah.
So for me, when I look at my world and my business world, when things are feeling really overwhelming, I just break it down into the smaller parts and just get methodical.
Yep.
And, you got a process around it. I go get support and advice. I go, all those same things, and trying to stay really calm under pressure. And I work really well under pressure. In fact, it can be a bit of a fault because sometimes you can put things off.
To give you that.
Really under pressure. Mm-hmm. Yeah, but when I'm under pressure, that's when I slam out, both work and personal. And I don't, because I'm not thinking about it, because I'm a bit of a shocking perfectionist. So that can get me caught. I can get a little caught on it.
Right. Yeah.
Thanks, Mum. She's and she'll tell you, my mum's a psychologist. I've been very blessed to have my mum. She is my rock. She's my world. She's my bookkeeper for my business.
Oh,
wow. So my mum gets to see everything I spend. It can be a blessing and a curse.
Right.
But she's an amazing bookkeeper, and with being a psychologist and done some phenomenal stuff, she's helped me through an awful lot. And, between that and my parents, they really kind of helped me an awful lot to stay focused on the things that are real.
Yeah.
And to ask also that question, was that about me, or actually was that about you?
Yes, I do. Yeah, absolutely.
Because the hard part is we sometimes punish ourselves for other people's poor behavior. And we have to learn to take ownership of what's ours and let them take ownership of theirs.
Oh, yeah. I got a book, it must be now a year and a half ago. It was called Codependent No More.
Oh, yes.
And great book. And I ended up getting the journal for it. And, I think, I don't know, getting into sort of like personality stuff and like, when you're, giving bad behavior the go, you're we do that, right? Depending, and it's like you get into that Emma, is it the narcissist versus the codependent and all that stuff? And I think you change depending where you are in your life, and you attract certain people and all that sort of stuff. But I think that's super important. It's like keeping yourself grounded, and then also like not encouraging or, enabling bad behavior. Right.
Yes.
And having other people in your life that are like, excuse me, no, stop doing that. But I read that journal every day still.
For me, I very much learned around kind of the triangle of, are you sitting in the victim persecutor or the victim persecutor or the I remember the third one in a minute.
I know. I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, victim, persecutor, or savior. That's
savior.
It.
I was like, there we go. Yeah.
That's it. So you can get caught in that triangle. And the moment I stopped doing that kind of with friends and with my children in, particular, because I've got adults, then that really changed the nature of my relationship and gave me a strength. And the same in business as well, to strive forward, because with those and understanding the books, I think probably a book that was one that really stuck with me and a big game changer was a book by a lady by the name of Dina McMillan, Australian psychologist, and it's called But He Says He Loves Me. And it's actually about manipulation and how people can really, in relationships and what does it mean? Same sort of thing. And back in the day, because I was in a phenomenally toxic marriage. And so, there's so many things that can kind of define you and then give you a bit of a wake-up call. And I suppose that's one of the books that gave me a massive wake-up call. So there's those sorts of things in our world that can, what are those defining moments? And that was a really big one for me, is to get to understand some of those, how you can draw in certain people to your world and remove certain people from your world.
Isn't that the truth? Do you feel like this time, I keep, some people call it the great pause, some people call it the great reconciliation, the great the whatever upheaval, all of that. Like, do you find like revelations that you've had throughout us being in this pandemic for yourself that really have come to light, that have like really shifted how you think about things?
It really, there's been a lot. I suppose my hardest part is I get energized by being around people. Even when it wasn't the pandemic for me, I would just go and sit in a food court to do my work, because just having the bustle of people around me would put me in a happy place. I enjoyed the noise and I could focus really hard, and I would just tune everything out, but I enjoyed kind of that noise around me. So to go from that to sitting at home, locked in, not going anywhere, not driving, not talking to anyone for potentially days on end, and then no end in sight, was really tough for me. We went into lockdown around May, and it hit around about July, August, and we come kind of back out of lockdown. I went and saw my sister-in-law, she's got a psych degree, a nursing degree, and a education degree. So she's got a degree coming out of her. And I sat down with her, burst into tears, and then kind of went, I didn't want to go home. We had to go to the vet to pick something up. And I just drove to her place and went, I can't go home. I actually can't go home. And that was a real defining moment for me, where we talked it out for a couple of hours and learning. My biggest lesson, I suppose, over the many, many years would be learning to sit with an emotion. If you're distressed, that's okay. Sit with it. If you need to be in tears, but know that on the other side of it, you're going to be okay. And nothing will ever be as bad as some of the years that I've actually gone through. I am okay, and telling myself I am okay. So if I was angry, it was okay to be angry. It was okay to say why I was angry. It was okay to sit in that emotion and then go, now I can move on. So those are the sorts of things as a learning curve that I had learned prior to the pandemic. So I had forgotten it a bit. I think because you're so kind of steeped in, for a little while, and learning to enjoy my own company. And that's kind of when I suppose I did more on the cake decorating and giving it away and giving to people. Did a lot more jigsaw puzzles. All of a sudden, I got so many jigsaw puzzles now. It's not funny. Became another bit of addiction. But if from a work perspective, it was, what do I create? What do I put out there? What energy do I want to, give out? I was spending a lot more time with family. And I mean, I was through the pandemic as well. My grandson was going through chemotherapy, so he could literally be in his mum's unit or he could be in my house. That was it. So we had to really go into lockdown because we had to keep him safe. Because if he had got something like this, it could literally mean his life. And so I had to keep us all safe. So I spent a lot of time playing with my grandson, who's just delightful, and he was sleeping over, and giving my daughter a break wherever I could. But he was spending a lot of time in hospital, which I couldn't visit. So because of the pandemic. But look, so I think that you just reevaluate your world and go, I'm okay. I have a lot of money sitting there in the bank to be able to draw on, to be able to support me. Unlike a lot of other people, I was very privileged, and I'm very conscious of that privilege, that if I wanted to do the things to support family, I could, and I could just stop and rest for about, after working phenomenally long hours in a business for a very long time, and getting near burnout too. I was near burnout, that it was okay. And I had a business coach, amazing business coach. She's the one who did the whole no excuses. We live a life of no excuses. And so with that, it's like, well, what's stopping you? Is it fear? Is it, is it laziness?
Right.
Is it, those things, and questioning what we're doing. So I just decided I would actually rest. I took a month or two, I think, off my user group, and I did my last one in December. I haven't kicked off yet. I, want to kick off, and it may not be, in March with so many conferences online. It's a tough one. Normally I kick off in February, but I've actually taken a little bit of break from all that pressure and just enjoying where I am here and now at the moment, and learning to enjoy it a little bit. You kind of go, I actually wouldn't mind retirement, but it's still a long way off.
Right. Yeah.
I think we're kind of being forced into that, spending time with family and enjoying the here and now, because there's so many that have been in such phenomenally dreadful situations globally, that I'm very thankful that I'm in a country that's very proactive. We've got no cases apart from international travellers, where we love our neighbours. We've got an amazing political system that's supporting, medical system that's supporting, tracing system, and the fact that we're, generally a compliant country and helping others, that I'm very thankful to be living in such a phenomenal country. I really am very thankful, because I couldn't do what I can do right now if I didn't have all those things backing me up.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah. It's definitely a model, for what's going on right now. Yeah, it's been, you mentioned, user groups and that, and I was saying, I think before we got on, that I take a hiatus for the podcast, right? Or maybe I just said that. I'm like, but it's one of those where it's like people haven't started up sort of things that they did, or and maybe I'll call it guilt. But maybe the guilt of I haven't done something, or, I've always done this and I have to do it. And I think we found that, you don't have to do everything,
That's it. Yes, right? You don't have to. You wanted to. Do you still want to? Is always the question. And it's funny, because with my business coach, when it came to my business at one point, when it was under the crunch, and I was doing 100-hour or more weeks, and I was burning out, and I was trying to have to learn to say no to people coming, and I'm not great at saying no. I'm a bit of a yes person. It was, do you want that client? Do they make you feel good? Does it make your business better? And all those things. And it was even the question of, do you still want to do this business? Is it still the rewarding thing that you wanted? Is it? And I've had to reassess. And even the last year, each month I stop and I ask myself that question. And I think you have to in life on most things. If we don't question it, then often, and what I found is when I took control of my world, I didn't have other people leading my world for me. I had that in work, where my jobs just got changed on me, and I just went, okay, but it's not really it's not the direction I really want to take or do, but I would just accept it. And I mean, it gave me some phenomenal skill sets in the long run, because you're kind of jumping around a bit.
Right.
But it didn't help me necessarily in some of my career paths, without a doubt. You could kind of take a lot longer to get there, because you're not being decisive and you're not saying no. And so it leaves you on a bit of a journey that maybe you didn't want to go down. And sometimes it doesn't make you feel great about yourself either, because you go, why am I a little bit stronger? Why aren't I?
Yeah.
And then, the flip side is you start to feel assertive. And then as a female, we'll often get called, she's aggressive, or she's being bitchy, or she's, you're saying no. And so you get caught in between the two. And, tech tends to be a pretty male dominated world, and it can get pretty tough. And understanding what your journey and your path and knowing what to brush off and what to stand up for, and just go, that actually wasn't on. I really didn't appreciate that.
Absolutely. You have so many great insights. Thank you for sharing them, first of all, because it's, it's like, sometimes you don't even realize that you have insights, you know what I mean? But it's like, this is my journey. This is what I've experienced. And then X, and I'm like, you sound like a person, who does the work too, or has done the work, right? Or
both business and professional.
Right.
So personally and professionally, I should say. I'm short, as I say, I'm short, but I'm noisy. So.
I love it.
You know, I'm 5 foot nothing. Hang on, I'll tear your ankle off.
Yeah, right. Like, do not.
Or it's a leg hug, you know.
Yeah, right. Yeah, right. Oh my goodness, you are so fun. That's awesome.
Oh, look, you got to have some fun, and you know, you got to. You get heckled so much when you start doing training, and you're on stage, and you got to have a bit of a sense of humor. And,
oh my goodness, yeah.
You know, you got to be able to put yourself out there, warts and all. You know, and it can be pretty nerve-wracking, but
yeah. Well, I mean, we all, crave and love authenticity, you know?
Yeah.
And I feel like when in my podcast and talking to people, I feel like a lot of, I don't know, it may be because it happenstance, you know, sometimes I get somebody's recommended or you know, who wants to be on or this or whatever. And I feel like I connect with people who have found that, you know, or worked on it or are really mindful about it, you know, about being authentic, and that when they are not, we are not, that's when, you know, you go, you know what I mean? Or you don't get the thing or it doesn't happen because you've like put on, this is me, and it's like, not you. Right.
Yeah. I think, you know, if we're being down to, I mean, I could put a facade on, but my mouth is probably too big for my facade.
Fair.
You know, because I'm pretty open and honest about my world. I very much believe in, you know, doing the right thing, because if I do what I think is morally and ethically right, I can always stand on that, you know, I don't know, I wouldn't call it a podium or a pedestal and go, you know, but I go, I know that I've done right by the world. And and don't say that I haven't done anything wrong. I'm not saying that, but, you know, we do. But then, you know, sometimes we can really beat ourselves up, but it may not be something that we can take ownership on either, because we are on a life journey and we just got to own it and know that there isn't an excuse, and to go, what can I do better, and what was the trigger for me, and understanding and looking a bit deeper. And I mean, having so many psychologists in the family, they're very good at putting a mirror up in your face and go, oh, so why did you do that? What do you think actually, you know, was the trigger for you on that one? And you just go,
right. Oh my goodness, that's so funny.
So I am lucky to have that support and to keep me very grounded, and my support network is just everything. And reach out, and when I've joined different groups to try and stay social and chat and talk and meet new people, and caking was one of the ones to meet a whole heap of new people and communities, and find something that you can connect with others if you need. If you're really lonely or you're caught, or you get a good psychologist, get some good communities around you, look at what friends that you can build or draw on, remove the negative, increase the positive, be around the people that you emulate and you would like to, and if they frighten you, even better, because, you know, they're the ones that you really want to go, oh, I want to do a little bit more like you. Talk to me. How did you do that? Ask the question.
Absolutely. That's awesome. Great advice all around, Missy.
Anyway,
so good.
Maybe if it helps someone on the journey, and some Mavens can do it better.
Yes, absolutely. Oh, I love talking. We could talk for like another 4 hours.
I know, but we got a time limit. But I'm very thankful that you know, you've allowed me to sort of talk about, you know, my journey. It kind of feels a little egotistical talking about me and my journey, but
everybody's got a story. Everybody, and yours is unique and special and needs to be heard. So.
That's it. Well, you know, as I say, we try not to leave anyone behind, you know, in my journey of adoption. And that includes some amazing women out there that can know that, you know, the ceiling is never really a ceiling. Go punch it.
Yeah, I'm with you 100%. Well, I'm asking my last question. Ooh, I flipped my phone.
Go for it.
I got excited. We've talked a bit about some of this already. We just, you know, sparks and moments and, you know, times in your life when something happened and that really kind of moved you, or, you know, something in your life that really seats you in who you are today. And you've talked about some, but you have another one, or one that really kind of is there for you that you want to share with our listeners.
Look, there's so many, I suppose, you know, moments that there's lots of little things that spark me off, I suppose. And it's a conglomerate of many things in terms of listening. And you know, really it's my mum, my daughter, and the women in my world. I come from a phenomenally strong family of women that have gone through some both wins and tragedies, that I really look to the people around me. And family is always this one thing that's closest. I can look at the stranger or someone on the TV or the writer or the actor but to me it's the strong women I have in my world that I want to be better for, or I want to help show the way, and making sure that I've got them around me. And that may even be my colleagues, like yourself, and, what can we do? And sometimes we've got to be very careful not to compare ourselves. And that's some, trap that I can sometimes fall into as well. And know that I've got my own journey, and all I can do is pick the things that I think are going to resonate and go from there. That's really my main advice when it comes to the who. Because I can't say it's just one moment, one person.
Absolutely. That's awesome. Thank you for sharing that with us. Who you keep close,
Absolutely. It really is who you keep close with, just without a doubt. And I wouldn't be the person I am at the moment, considering some of the journey, if I didn't have them to prop me up when I needed to, and just that phone call to go. Even my sister-in-law, who is an amazing woman, who just goes, I'm a massive introvert and I've been locked in the house for weeks with COVID, and if I'm climbing the walls, oh my God, I can't imagine how you're feeling. And I'm just like bursting into tears and going, don't ask me how I am. Right. It's those people. It's the ones in the new world. Hold them close.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Thank you so much for being on the show and sharing your story with us. I really thank you.
That's okay. You're very welcome, Heather, and thank you. It's been wonderful to catch up. It's been a couple of years since we did the conference. And
I know. I was like,
I miss my community so much. I get energized by you guys so much. And I found that really tough to not have that energy burning with me, alongside me, the chats and the talks and the excitement and the spark and the, so you guys make my world go round. And you guys give me some of the passion that I have and re-energize me. So for that, I'm always phenomenally thankful to the community that helped me learn. So without a doubt.
Absolutely. Well, and big hearts back at you on that one for sure.
See red.
Yeah, we got our red tie. We got a red today.
Got the red. Bring in the heart.
Darling, thank you so much. So
thank you, Heather, and I look forward to seeing next steps on Maven.
Yeah, absolutely. For sure. Okay. All right. Yay. Well, everybody, that has been another episode of the Mavens Do It Better podcast. Here is to another beautiful day on this big blue spinning sphere. Thanks, everybody. And thanks, Kirsty. Yay.
Thank you. Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.
The original music on this podcast was created by Jesse Case.